Hi, I'm Susan Kennard and welcome to the Spiritual Awakener podcast. We're actually going live on my YouTube today for a change because I thought we would bring an amazing guy on. Let me just record this as well, Dave. So I've got Dave here with me today, and the podcast is all about bringing people on to talk about who they are, what their spiritual awakening or their turning point was, and how it led them to help the collective. Okay. And that is all of us. We are all one and we are all here enjoying this world. And it is time for us to really step up and remember who we truly are and the power we have within us. And one of the things that's really important is to remember that we can heal. Okay. And there's a huge amount of conversation around that. And there has been over the last 2 or 3 years. Can we heal, or do we need something outside of us to heal us? So I'm going to hand over to Dave because he has some really interesting thoughts on healing. And I share a lot of them, which is why I've invited him to come on the Spiritual Awakener podcast today. So welcome, Dave. He calls himself allegedly Dave. So I love that. That's cool. That's cool. Why allegedly Dave? Dave?
Okay, well, but it comes out of the free man on the land movement. The idea of the your name being a bit of a trap.
Yeah.
So you'll find people calling themselves commonly known as, and
commonly known as.
Yeah, I'm allegedly Dave.
Yeah. and it's a frequency, isn't it? Our name holds an energy, doesn't it? It holds an energy for us as well. Dave.
I believe it. I believe it does. I think. Well, I look back into the Old Testament a lot, and you'll find that the people were given their names after what they would end up doing in the future.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I think your name does have an effect.
And there is something called numerology, isn't there? And where people look at the energy of each letter and how that actually affects you. But, that's another story. So, Dave, who are you? What was the thing that led you to be who you are? I mean, I met Dave, just to say, for everyone listening, I met Dave at my children's home ed class, where he was talking about the earth and, beliefs around whether it's a globe or whether it's flat. And it was really interesting to meet him because he was not only talking about that, but he was also talking about who we are actually as people. And these kids, are very fortunate because they're not in the mainstream. So they're able to have these experiences where they can kind of think out of the box. And Dave wasn't telling them what to think. He was giving them the opportunity to question what we're told. And so then the following week or a couple of weeks later, I spoke at the children's group as well about mission and purpose. And exactly the same, I gave children an opportunity to think about, who they truly are and what they really came to do. So that's how I met Dave. So Dave, tell us, what was your awakening?
Well, I was a computer programmer working in New York on Wall Street, deep in the matrix. Earning lots and lots and lots of money, and had a flash car, big house, all the trappings. And then I watched 9/11 from close up. I was nearly in it, to be honest. I turned down a job in Tower 1 a month before. So
always
I watched 9/11. Yeah, I know. So I watched 9/11 from across the river. And it didn't. I thought there was something a bit fishy, but I was back at work the next day, so moved on. It wasn't until about 4 years later, 3 or 4 years later, that my daughter came to me with some physics homework she couldn't do, and just working on this problem, I figured out that it couldn't have happened the way it actually did.
Mm.
So that launched me on a quest for truth, figure
Yeah.
out what's the whole point of this. And it also coincided with my midlife crisis, you know. So I was asking the questions about myself. Why am I here? What's the point of me being here? You know,
Yeah.
it can't be just to work and pay bills and things like that. So
Yeah.
those two things came together, and I've literally been on a
Journey.
quest for truth for the
Wow.
last 18 years.
And do you think that as a child, you were someone that kind of questioned, or do you feel that you were someone that just followed the narrative of, what you were told?
I'm actually I'm one who I can actually remember the moment that I realized that, okay, this is how the world is. So you
Mm.
know what? I know I don't fit in it, but I'm gonna have to shave off those
Yeah.
corners of my square peg to fit in this
Yeah.
round hole. I did that at 14. I thought, well, you know, I always felt outside, but
Mm.
I thought, well, okay, this is the world, so jam
Yeah.
that
Just
peg
have
in
to
that
do it.
hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. I think I was the same. I was brought up not with a religious family, but definitely with a family that were in a small village. You went to Sunday school, you were confirmed into the church, this kind of thing, which kind of never really sat very well with me. But you just go along with it because that's what you're given as an experience. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
But that quest for truth has taken me from one subject to another
Mm.
to another to another. It's
Yeah.
it's like when you first go onto the internet for the first time. You
Yeah.
know, you start searching for one thing and something else catches your eye, so you're
Yeah.
off and then you're all over the place and you've forgotten what you originally went for. You
In
know,
the yeah, so
so.
some people call it down the rabbit hole, don't they? Some people sort of
Mhm.
say, "Oh, I've gone down the rabbit hole," and I definitely think, over these last sort of 2.5, 3 years, we know there's been a mass awakening, and I think a lot of people have been searching for truth, in their own truth of what their own truth is, which I'm all for. But you did it earlier. I spent my whole life kind of being aware that there was so much more to us than actually we were told, right? But it wasn't until I had my spiritual awakening, which led me really to hold this podcast and create it 2.5 years ago, because I just felt, I had mine at 27. I'm 53 now. This week I was 53, actually. And
Oh,
so I was
congrats.
27. Yeah. So I was 27 when, you know, I had mine. So I've been awakening from that moment of awareness. And some people are just realizing now that they are so much more than who they are. So I think everyone has that at the time when they're meant to, don't you? Like,
Well, yeah.
that they've kind of chosen in a way that experience. So that, anyway,
Well,
that led you to kind of find out a bit more about the world and question, which is really
mhm.
good. And what happened after that?
Well, it's been a continuing, ongoing process. As I said,
Mm.
I started with 9/11, which led me on to finding out about the New World Order, which led me on to finding out about the monetary system, which led me
Yeah,
to the legal system, which then
yeah,
led me to the healthcare system.
yeah,
And then I started looking at our history, and
yeah,
um, that led me to looking at the Old Testament,
yeah.
and
Wow.
that's ended up where I am right now, finding out that everything in this world goes back to the Old Testament. It's
Mm.
the story of this portion of Earth's history, all right, from beginning to
Yeah,
end.
yeah. And so, why do you think that we've been swayed away from actually, is that the right word? Yeah, swayed away from actually kind of living by this truth.
Well, again, that goes back to the Old Testament too.
Hmm.
It goes back to the fact that there were okay. angels that came down and
Mm.
had sex with women and spawned a second bloodline that's not quite human, but that second bloodline is now in control of this world today, and they hate us. They hate humans, and
Mm.
we're seeing the culmination of their great work, their big plan, to essentially eradicate us. So, as part of that plan, in order in order for a small group of people to control, billions of people, they
Mm.
have to go through lots of or create lots of psychological blocks in our psyche,
Mm.
so that
Mm.
we never realize who we are. We never realize why we're here.
Mm.
We're kept away, kept busy in a system
Yes. Yeah.
that has us chasing our tails, 24/7.
Yeah.
You have
And
to,
fear, I
and
think the
fear.
fear thing is major. And, but what I do feel, and for everyone listening and listening after, I do feel like we have got an incredible expansion of hope as well now. And I do feel like this is coming to a head. There's lots of truths coming out. And obviously, for the purpose of not wanting to be deplatformed, we're going to keep our language that way. But there is a huge amount of truth coming out. Even today, I was listening to some truths coming out. And I think people are really starting to question decisions that they might have made previously. And also questioning, banking systems and, mortgages and all sorts of stuff. I think people are just questioning, perhaps, as you said, just going down a road of just agreeing to everything and then realize, oh my goodness, actually, I have got my own empowerment. I have got my own decisions that I can make. And I don't have to follow what everybody else has said,
Well,
that we should do. So,
a good point, that the idea of, okay, we're paying mortgages and rents and things. Well,
mm,
take a step back. you know
mm,
why is it you have to pay someone else to live on this earth, the earth that
yeah,
you were born on? you know
yeah.
do badgers pay mortgages for their sets?
I
do
don't know.
do
I haven't asked
birds
them. I should get them on the podcast.
do birds
Yeah,
pay rent to squirrels? What
yeah,
No.
yeah.
We've taken this system as real and
Mm,
as self-evident, but when you take a step back and really look at it, it's like,
mm,
no, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
yeah, yeah. So what I want to say about Dave is that, you know, he actually offers his service for free. And what we're going to talk about now is to lead on to really how he helps people, because, Dave, from the goodness of your heart, you help people to find a way to heal themselves. Okay. And so let's move on to thinking about, the real concept, which I totally believe in, which is our emotions create our dis-ease. And you call it our thoughts or our thinking creates our dis-ease. We are, a complete being. We're
Mhm.
not separate. Our mind is not separate from our body. I talk about that all the time. However, we're still told that we're treating the body and not the mind. I have worked with many doctors and they are amazing. And they say to me, we know. Yeah, they know. They know that when they spend the time with somebody and they talk to them and they help them to feel better, that they heal quicker just in that time. And now doctors are given so little time to spend with people that they just prescribe. And we know this has been going on for such a long time. So I believe the time is coming, and has come for a long time, that we need to really look and go within. And, I'm a trauma specialist, that's the job I do. But what do you do to help people, and what's your thoughts on dis-ease?
Well, I tend to help people in any way that they need help, actually, whether it's with debts or disease or legal problems or anything.
Yeah,
But a lot of it does come down to illnesses that
yeah,
people
yeah,
I don't like using the word suffer, because words
yeah,
mean something, and
yeah.
that's not a
Words are
word that
spells,
we should
right?
use. Exactly.
Mm,
So I basically came up with uh, a methodology I call the body-centric method, um, because as you say, it's we're in a system which uses, looks at tiny parts of us and says, oh, we just need to fix that bit.
yeah,
If we put some oil-based chemical on that bit, it will make it work better. No,
yeah,
it's we live, our body is a holistic system.
yeah.
It's not, all the parts aren't separate from all the other parts. So my method comes down to essentially four different things, four things you have to do. It doesn't matter
Mm,
what you've got, you'll heal, because there aren't separate diseases. There's only one disease, and that's
mm,
bad health. And what
yeah,
happens is, over your lifetime, your habits, your environment, all these things basically start piling up in your body and
mm,
causing bad health. And when it gets to a certain point, the body can't manage it anymore. So it goes through an emergency cleansing process, which we
yeah,
call disease. But
yeah,
it's not disease. It's literally the body going, okay, hang on a minute. I can't keep doing this. I'm gonna knock you down for a while and try
yeah,
and clear. Yeah.
yeah.
So, but again, we're in a system that misunderstands that, and
Mm.
gets us to poison ourselves even more, essentially.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And actually, I think most people do actually know that what they put in their body actually is probably not the best for them. And yet there is just that God complex, isn't there, with the doctors and with what perhaps we've been told that this person can fix us.
mhm.
And so then there's a lot of fear around that, and there's no judgment with anyone that, if you're listening to this and you are, finding things difficult at the moment and your body is unwell, there's no judgment with what I'm saying. I'm just bringing awareness to this. And so, when we have fear, when we hold fear, we are more likely to reach for what we feel is a quick fix than taking the time to say, oh my goodness, what is this fear? Why am I afraid of this? I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid of, not existing anymore, and this kind of thing. Yeah. So then I find people, when they're not so much in that fear, they're able to go, okay, yes, I get that. And so that's why I love what you're saying here, is that actually, you're talking about physically what the body is trying to do. It's trying to take a break, basically, so it can heal itself. When people go on
Yeah.
holiday, they're often ill, right? And they blame it on the hotel, or, the water in the hotel, or, they blame it on something. But actually, quite often it's the body going, oh my goodness, like twice a year, I get to not sit in front of my computer and worry about other people's stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it's and deadlines and everything else. So
And you're not rushing around a lot. You're not having to
yeah,
rush around to do stuff. Yeah. So
yeah,
now you've got a moment where your body's not expending all this energy. So now the
yes,
body's like, I can start
lovely.
healing now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that then. So for example, so you said, that you'll work with anyone. So we're talking particularly about wellness and health and particular techniques. And I really want to talk about urine therapy, which is so controversial, but I love it. Um, uh, but you do help people with lots of other things. So, in the
Yeah.
show notes, you guys will see Dave's details, and he has an incredible YouTube channel. We'll put that there as well, that people can follow and listen to his talks. That he gets interviewed a lot about lots of controversial subjects. But today we're going to talk about health and healing. So when you work with somebody, what are you doing? Are you sort of putting them on some sort of program, or what? You tell my listeners what happens.
Well, yes. What I tend to do is I have a set of about 15 odd questions that I'll send to them, just to get an idea of what they're going through, and particularly what medications they're on, because one of the first things I'll get them to do is wean off those medications, because whether you believe so or not, they're not actually helping you. They might get rid of some symptoms, but they're, in the long term, they're harming you.
Just to say about that, like, we're not advocating that you just now, today, without any support, without anything like that you just go and just, chuck them away. I would say, personally, when I work with people that are coming off medication, what I do is I notice that as they start to heal themselves, they forget to take it, or they just say, do you know what? I just feel like I'm not going to take it today, but I might take it tomorrow. And I find that they actually stop it themselves. So if you notice that with people, that once they start to go on this journey, they're starting to kind of open up that consciousness and that awareness that actually it's not what their body needs anymore.
Yes, but in a different way.
Okay.
I specifically go with with weaning them off the medication, because it's like a kitchen fire, a stove fire. That's the model. If you're trying to put out a stove fire, you don't just throw water over it or throw a blanket over it, whatever. The first thing you got to do is turn off the gas.
Yes.
Because if you,
I like
no
that
matter what
analogy.
you do, right? So you've got to stop the poisoning. So wean off those. That's why I suggest people wean off those.
That's
those
hardcore,
meds.
Dave. That's hardcore.
Yeah, I know, but
instead of allegedly Dave, hardcore Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my porno film name. Anyway.
Don't use that word on my channel.
Oh, yeah, I'm not allowed to. Sorry.
No, guilty platform.
Yeah. So I did mention that there are 4 things that you have to do. Number 1, I've actually just said, is stop poisoning yourself. And that is, just remove the source of the problem. Number 2 is get rid of the poisons that are already in you, and that's a detox. And I use two different methods for the detox. The first one is distilled water. Distilled water will dissolve and wash out any inorganic minerals that are building up in your body.
Wow.
And several other things will get washed out of your body with distilled water. The second one is the urine therapy. And that's incredibly powerful. So urine therapy isn't always center stage. It's, for me, it's just one part of a greater program. Number 3 is to give your body the energy it needs to heal. And with that is, I use fasting with that. So I usually get people to fast 2 days out of the week. Complete fast for 24 hours. And the last part is change the way you think, because as we're going to talk about, all disease starts in the mind. So you change, if you go about healing the body of whatever it is, the physical part of it, and you don't change the mental part, then it's just going to keep reoccurring.
And I do it, so I work with people on the emotional, mental level, and the spiritual level, of course, as well. So I work with that part when I'm transforming it. So it's kind of almost like I do that and then work with the body alongside. Yeah. And then I notice people come off medication if I'm working with medication, if that's what it is. Whereas you do it hardcore, like, no questions asked. That is the first thing you do. And I'm fascinated by this. So keep talking. So the mind, how do you help people with that?
Right. Well, okay. So what the problem is that when we have an emotional response to something, what we feel as emotion is essentially just a set of chemicals that are being pumped around our bodies to produce various things to
cortisol,
activate
adrenaline.
some things. Activate some things, it depress other things, but we feel that mix of chemicals as an emotion. So for instance, if we're walking down the road looking at our phones and we step out into the road, and all of a sudden there's a car horn beeps right next to us, that fear is literally adrenaline being pumped and all sorts of things getting us ready to run or fight. So what's supposed to happen is that we feel the emotion, we deal with it, right? The emotion, the chemicals are no longer needed, they go, they dissipate, and we go back to normal. It's an emergency response. But we're in a system where we are in low level states of emotion, constantly. So,
and high level, some people.
Oh yes, high level, but
the real survival stuff.
But generally, I mean, if you're a television watcher, even if there's something nice on the screen, that thing is pumping fear at you 24/7. They're hiding it in different frames of the image.
We just don't watch television at all.
Right. Oh, good thing.
We don't have it on
because we
certainly don't watch the news.
Right, but it'll inspire a low level amount of fear 24/7, or hatred, or grief, or whatever. But we're in chronic states of emotion, which means we've got these chemicals running around us, almost constantly. And certain chemicals will attack certain organs. So I believe grief attacks the lungs.
It is, that's what I believe.
Anger attacks the liver, and so on and so on and so on. So how I help people is I get people to understand that who they are, for instance, is a set of memories that they have decided to hang on to and have an opinion about. So
I like that.
every time you make a decision, big or small, you literally go through that set of memories and decide what that person is going to do.
I'm kind of seeing like a filing cabinet. It's like a filing cabinet.
So you literally, in an instant, literally go through that set of memories, and that set of memories is going to shape what it is you're going to do next. So you literally end up in going round and round in circles. So a particular traumatic memory, right, will actually spark off an emotional response. Without you knowing, you'll come to a situation and you hit a memory that will go, no, this is bad. And without knowing why, you'll feel, you'll activate these set of chemicals, which will again attack whatever organ and so on. So you're kind of predisposed to certain, what they call diseases.
So it's like a stress. What I'm hearing from you is it's like a stress trigger. It's like your body gets stressed, your mind gets stressed, your body gets stressed, and then it goes in. For meta health, essentially neuropsychology, but from a meta health perspective, which is German new medicine, we look at the UDIM, which is an unexpected dramatic event that leaves you isolated. And that urine is like your stress trigger. Okay. And then you have like a tiny bit of acceptance around it. So it might be someone tells you something and you have some acceptance around it. And then your body goes into this, oh, okay, it's okay then. And it goes into this, what we call a healing peak. And that might be a cold, it might be a headache, it could be stomach problems or whatever, you know, it could be lots of different things. And so that's how we look at it. It's like the shock and the trauma actually creates what you're saying is that message running, and then it comes out in the body. And the body is trying, I believe, all the time to heal itself, holidays, things like that. All the time it's trying to, and it never does anything against us, but it appears to do something against us, doesn't it? It appears to break down. And I definitely believe that, you know. Sorry?
So I got a phone call. I got something. Yeah, sorry.
And naturopaths, I trained as a naturopath as well. Gosh, there's loads of people watching this, actually. Got them commenting. I may take a question in a minute. But, you know, when we think of a naturopath's perspective, because I trained in that as well, we're looking at cleansing. We're looking at really healing and cleansing our body. So it kind of works together with what you're saying, you know, where we're really having to detox, you know, to set about that healing, not only on an emotional level, but a physical level as well.
Right. So the process I'm talking about not only works internally, it actually works externally as well, because that referencing that set of memories literally drives your behavior as well. So not only is it affecting your emotional state, but it's literally driving your life. So I give the example of me and my brother. Growing up, we're a year apart, so we have pretty much the same experiences. But one year, my mum made us a pair of jeans each, and my mum's really good at making clothes, but she's a bit forgetful, so she forgot she only tacked in the zip. And so I took my jeans on a trip to France, and halfway over on the ferry, my zip burst open. I mean, just massive. Whoa! So everybody started laughing at me, you know. So I kind of got up and went, "Come on, girls, I'm open," like that, and
messing around.
Yeah, and somebody, you know, we all had a laugh. Somebody found a safety pin, and that was all over. My brother took his jeans on a trip to Wales with the school. Same thing happened to him, and to this day, he counts that as the most embarrassing moment of his life.
Yeah, wow. So the perception it really holds within you is what you're saying.
Indeed.
That perception,
so
yeah.
Me and him might go towards a situation that has a slight bit of embarrassment factor to it. And I'm going to go through my set of memories and go, that was quite funny, wasn't it? And I'm going there. But my brother will hit the same memory and he'll go, oh, no, I'm swerving that one.
Doing that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I get you. I totally get what you mean.
So what I get people to do is to listen to your self-talk. Listen to that voice that's always chattering in the back of your head. And most of the time you'll find it's saying a lot of negative things about you. And, you know, most people are not listening to that voice. It's always chattering, but it's always there. So you ignore it most of the time, you know, and you think it's you as well. Yeah. So when you hear something negative about you, or even about the situation, listen very carefully to it. Okay. Because what that voice is essentially a program that was created by a child who was traumatized by something. Yeah. So that child had a child's mentality and really didn't understand the situation, but just hung on to the trauma. And that program is running in the background all the time. Okay. So essentially what I get people to do is parent that child, because as I said, it has a child mentality, so it doesn't understand the actual situation, just hung on to the emotion. So as an adult, you know what to say to a child. If that child was standing in front of you, right, saying, "I don't feel very good because you'd know exactly what to say to that child to make him understand
Most
that
people
it's
would.
okay. Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, I think most people. Yeah, I think most people would. I was going to make an absolute there, but no. Yes, most people would know exactly what to say to that child. Now, the new age way of dealing with it is to use affirmations. You know, I am strong, I am powerful, I can do this, I don't need you. Right? It's the same as having a child standing in front of you saying, "I don't feel one." You go, "No, I don't. I'm strong, I'm powerful, I don't need you." I don't. That child might wander away, but it's going to come back some other time. Right? But if you teach that child about that trauma, then that child program will learn and then no longer be necessary. Give an example of, let's say, sexual abuse. Right? Just as an example. If a child suffers that, the first thing that child will believe is that it's my fault. Yeah,
I
it's my
know.
fault.
I deal with that a lot of people.
Right. So as a parent, right, you can say to that child program, "It's not your fault. You know, there are bad people, and you're a victim." Okay. That's so that's a poor example, but you know what I'm trying to say here.
Well, it's not a poor example because it's acknowledging, and what I hear, and I work with people on this level as well, and it's acknowledging that in that moment you believed that about that, but that actually wasn't true. But you've led the life believing that that was true, or putting it to the back, like suppressing it and holding it within. And then when you hold it within, it's got to come out somewhere, right? And it might come out as anger. It could come out as being alone, like choosing not to trust anyone ever. Or it could come out as a physical dis-ease at some point. Because
it's both
got
levels.
to show. It's all levels. Yeah,
both
absolutely.
levels. Yeah. So out here on the physical and internally as well at the same time.
Sure.
So just to bring it out to the physical side, if I was able to speak to my brother about our experiences, I can't do anything about the memory, but I could probably get him to say to go, remember that time? Think about it now. It was quite funny, really, wasn't it? My mum forgetting to properly put the zip in, and it was quite funny, wasn't it? And he might go, yeah, I guess it was. And then the next time he hits that memory, it's not going to have that same power over him.
Yeah. It dilutes it a bit, doesn't it?
And then the more he does, he does that, the more that program is no longer necessary. It goes away.
So should we talk about, so I really want to talk about the urine therapy. I really want to get that into this podcast episode because it's something that I learned about as a naturopath many, many, many years ago, but I haven't done for years. And I've been speaking to my members, my soul family that I work with, and they're really interested in it, which is one of the reasons why I got you on. And so talk to us about this, the elixir of life, our nature's medicine. What is it? Because everyone thinks it's a waste product, right?
Yes, that's what we're taught in this society, that it's a waste product, and now wash your hands, that sort of thing. But it's absolutely not a waste product. Okay, so what happens is the blood goes to the liver to be cleansed. So the liver takes out all the waste, all the pathogens, anything that shouldn't be in the bloodstream. Yeah, the liver takes it out and disposes it via the bile duct, into the poo.
Yeah.
The purified blood from the liver goes to your kidneys, and your kidneys are there to keep your blood in balance. Yeah, because let's say if there's too much water in your blood, then your blood's not going to work efficiently because it's too watered down. So the excess water is taken out and stored in your bladder, and that's the same with all sorts of beneficial chemicals and hormones and enzymes. everything there happens to be too much of at that moment is taken away and stored in your bladder. And that's a clue right there, because the body doesn't store waste. Yeah, so it stores all that life, those life-giving substances in your bladder, because it doesn't want to get rid of it. And and one of the things it does is actually it reabsorbs some of that when it needs it. So a lot of people have had the experience where they've been dying to go to the loo, and then they get distracted, and then an hour later they're like, oh, I don't need to go anymore.
Sounds like my son. We call him Camel.
Right.
Because he seems to be able to hold it.
Yeah, because what happens is, if he's really active and stuff, then the body goes, oh, I need some of that. And
he's very active.
Rather than go through the energy intensive process of remanufacturing that stuff, it knows it's got a store of it in the bladder, so it will reabsorb it. Okay. So the amount of incredible substances in the urine is just amazing. And it includes things called stem cells, which are undifferentiated cells that can become anything in the body, can become skin, bone, hair, whatever. Whatever's needed. And these stem cells wander around the body looking for things to repair. Well, you've got a store of that in your urine. And you can see that happening if say you have a cut and it's bleeding profusely, right? You pour a little urine on it, the bleeding stops immediately. And within minutes or moments even, a skin forms over the wound, and you can even touch it. You know, it's
amazing.
It's very powerful. Yeah.
I've definitely used it with babies. I've got 2 teenagers. So I've definitely used it with babies. And I remember ear infections and things like that. And I remember just using a pipette and putting it in the ear of one of my children. I won't say which one, because if they listen to this, they'll be like, oh my God, I hope it wasn't me, Mum. So I won't say, but, doing that, and also with breastfeeding and so on, with if you're sore when you're breastfeeding, if you just put some urine on it, then it really did help. But we've heard of the old thing of, like, if you get a jellyfish sting, wee on it, haven't we? We've heard of that. People talk about that, and yet we don't talk about it as a medicine. So let's talk about how it really helps you heal.
Well, just to go back to the jellyfish sting,
sure.
Yeah, there's a second half of urine therapy, because urine therapy isn't just drinking, it's actually massaging it into the skin as well. Because, as you noted, it will pull out the jellyfish toxin out the skin. But it will do that with all toxins. Your skin holds on to lots of toxins, and also it's one of the ways all the toxins come out of your body. Urine actually, when you put it on the skin, pulls those toxins out of you. Right. And drinking it actually pushes the toxins out as well. So it's kind of push-pull thing.
Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, because I know that it pulls out the toxicity from your cells within your skin, and the skin's the largest organ, right? So
absolutely,
best place to do that.
An example I had was when I gave myself food poisoning, and literally I was trying to make myself throw up, and I couldn't. And I'd forgotten all about urine therapy. I was just feeling sorry for myself. But
feeling
it got
so ill.
Bad. I got so bad that I thought, well, I'm going to have to try this. And I drank some urine, and immediately I threw up. Because that's what my body needed to do, and and the urine helped it go. But in other times it doesn't do that. The first time I drank urine, I had a massive bowel movement and realized that I was constipated. Because
so your body needed
those toxins.
Your body needed that. So what do you notice with people when they start to drink their own urine, and tell us, I know about this, but tell everybody listening and listening after, what would they do? How would they start? Because loads of questions, but how would they start? You know, they wouldn't just necessarily start immediately, because it might be a difficult thing to get their head around, right?
I don't know, because when I give talks about it, usually in the break, like half a dozen people go out and try it right there and then.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
So what you'll notice, okay,
mm,
is almost immediately you might
mm.
notice a feeling of well-being and a boost of energy suddenly.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed within about 10 minutes. Um,
Wow.
very shortly
So
afterwards, you
quickly.
know, if you, yeah, literally, because I believe when you drink it, it doesn't literally just go through the digestive system,
Sure.
right, as we expect. Literally, the body recognizes it and it gets drawn straight into the body, just like when you massage it into the skin, it
Yeah.
absorbs into the skin. Not like
Yeah.
water sits on the surface and you have to towel it off. This, the body just draws it in.
Wow.
So when you drink it, it gets drawn into the body and you feel this, ooh, I feel good, you know.
Wow.
And you know, you keep doing that for a few days, and after a few days, you're going to start to notice something change, you know, a beneficial change. You know, I can't
Something's
tell you
just
what it
coming to
is, but
me. Can I just say, because I'm obviously using my intuition here, but what I'm feeling is it's almost like a direct acceptance of self. So if you are drinking it, you're saying, actually, I'm accepting all of me. Yeah. So I'm accepting myself. It's just kind of what I'm getting with this. It's like, if you're prepared to do that, you're really saying, this is me, this is part of me, and I'm taking it in. And that's what I'm really feeling, is an acceptance of who I am.
I think it's more that this is something we should intuitively know
Yeah,
to
but
do.
maybe that's it. Maybe our acceptance of self, because the key thing is in life, I feel, is that once you accept who you are and you learn to love who you are, then, your life big time changes, right? So if you are accepting that this is you're drawn to this, if you're listening to this, like today or another time, you're drawn to this because your intuition, or you're being guided to something that you know already is absolutely truth for you. So I would say that if you're doing that, you're probably ready to go to a deep level of acceptance of self. It's just my thoughts.
Well, think about it. Yeah, we're designed to go anywhere and live anywhere on this earth. Yeah,
Mm.
so it doesn't make any sense that our lives should be dependent on, you know, the moringa plant that only grows in the African jungle, or Himalayan sea salt only, you know,
Yeah,
is in Mount Everest. Yeah,
yeah,
how does that help you if you live in Basildon? You know,
yeah.
right? You have
Mm.
everything you need with you at all times. Yeah, you have
Amazing.
essentially food and water with you. Yeah, your urine is both water, and it's also the things that eating food would help your body to produce. Eating food stimulates your body to produce these things, so
Yeah.
you can cut out the food part. Yeah, so you've got food and water with you.
Handy
You've
if we
also,
have food shortages.
exactly.
Just to put it out there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. You've
yeah.
also got your own medicine with you. Whatever you're dealing with, whatever issue you're dealing with, right? You can say the antidote is already in your urine. Okay.
Wow.
If you cut yourself, if you damage yourself externally,
Yeah.
the urine will actually speed the healing. Yeah, it's amazing. You have everything that you ever need with you. And I think this is knowledge that we intuitively have, but we've been steered away from it by this culture.
Mm, mm. Do you think, because I did research a little bit about, that what doctors used to give in the olden days, and it would have been a long, 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 long time ago, way before Rockefeller, way before any of that, and the medical model. And they used to suggest that you drink urine. They used to suggest it. I read something and I was like, wow, actually that's what they used to suggest people to do, is to drink urine to heal themselves.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was actually very valuable in the past. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only for yourself, but it was used in the tanning industry. It was used for making gunpowder. It was used, the
Wow.
Chinese laundry. A Chinese
Yeah.
laundry is washing it in wee, and then rinsing it
Really?
off because it's a
Wow.
natural detergent. Yeah. um,
Wow.
the in our language,
Mm.
we've got this phrase, piss poor. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because if you're ever, so poor, what you could do is sell your wee. People would buy it from you. Yeah.
These
But if you
old
were,
wife tales, like we hear,
if you
like
were,
they're so true. My God.
yeah, if you
Mm.
were very, very poor, right, you
Mm.
wouldn't even have a pot to piss in. So
Yeah.
you
Oh my
couldn't even sell
goodness.
that. Can you see what I'm saying? So it was very valuable, but they've
Yeah.
moved us away from that because they want
Yeah.
us to be hooked on their pharmaceutical poisons.
Yeah. Wow. Mm. My goodness, I love that, because it's going to make a lot of sense to people, because I still hear that someone hasn't got a pot to piss in. I still hear that. I tend to hear it from the older generation more, but
Mhm.
I do hear it. I do hear it. So it's still something that people say. The
Well,
smell, the spell.
nowadays you
Oh,
hear the
there.
opposite. Nowadays you hear the opposite spells, the ones that keep you away from it, like pissed off. Um,
Yes. Oh my
and
goodness. Yes. Yes.
we
Yes.
think we
Yeah.
know where that comes from as well, because a friend of mine who started urine therapy, she got used to what her urine tasted like,
Yeah.
and one day she was just about to collect it, and she got a phone call and ended up having an argument on the phone, and it riled her up really horribly, and she slammed the phone down, collected the urine and drunk it, and realized it tasted foul. um,
Wow. Yeah.
and it was obviously the
Pissed
chemicals and
off.
everything pissed off. Yes.
Wow. That's so
So
cool. I love things like that. And it makes a lot of sense, because when all the water experiments that have been done by Moto, and talking to water and saying, you're beautiful, you're lovely, and then talking to another glass of water and saying, I hate you, etc., etc. Imagine we're doing that to ourselves all the time, and we are mostly water, and urine is water, right? It's a part of our water. So if we are
yes,
pissed off or angry or sad or depressed, or we're going to be experiencing that within ourselves. It
indeed.
makes total sense.
our
Yeah.
our bodies are communicating with us all the time,
Yeah.
and we are talking to our bodies all the time as well. So our
Yeah.
body talks to us in intuition and feeling. So
Absolutely.
an example was, okay, I woke up one morning at 3 o'clock in the morning with a nosebleed that wouldn't stop. Try as I might, I couldn't stop this. It was getting really
Yeah.
bad. So because I was meant to be at work in a couple of hours, I thought I've got to get some sleep. So I stuffed some cotton wool up my nose and tried to go back to sleep. As soon as my head hit the pillow, the back of my neck started to get hot, and it got hotter and hotter and hotter until I had to get up. So I went onto Google and typed in, nosebleed, burning sensation on back of neck. Going through the results, I found one. It said to stop a nosebleed, put a cold flannel on the back of your neck.
Oh,
So I did
wow.
that,
Yeah.
and immediately the nosebleed stopped and the burning sensation disappeared. What my
Wow.
body was saying was, put something cold here. But
Yeah.
I
Wow.
wasn't listening. I wasn't
No.
listening. I didn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, the body is always telling you stuff, telling you what to do, but we're not
Yeah.
listening. And
Yeah.
also on the converse side, we tell our bodies what we want without knowing. Okay, so we communicate with our feelings and intention, and
Mm.
you know
Hmm.
so when we speak, when we speak, we are harnessing, we're creating thought.
Yeah.
Right? That's what this language is about. It's creating a thought pattern that is talking to our body.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Yeah.
there's a word like cure. The word cure, well, you think it means to get rid of a disease, but what's the other word? What's the other meaning of that word?
When we talk about we're curing meat or something, aren't we? We're doing
Preserve.
something, preserving. Yeah.
Preserve. So when you say I want to
Yeah.
cure cancer, you're saying I want to preserve it. And I used the word suffer earlier.
Yeah.
I'm suffering with this disease. The word suffer means to permit. Yeah. When it
Yeah.
says never suffer a witch to live, never permit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It means to put. So when you say I'm suffering with cancer, I'm allowing cancer. That's what you're saying. Yeah. Even the word doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
We think of it means wise healer or something. Right. But use the word as a verb. Right. What happens when you doctor a document?
You alter it. You change it.
You
You
falsify it.
You falsify it. Yeah.
What happens when you doctor food? You poison
You
it.
poison it. Yeah, actually. Yeah, I was just thinking.
So
Yeah.
a doctor is a lying poisoner.
Wow. That's so like, when you think about it that way. And I know many doctors, and they definitely did not go into the professions believing that. They went into the profession wanting to be, of service, to bring, to really be of service. And so in a way, the doctors have been doctored.
Well, hasn't that happened to everybody? Everybody went into a job with the fantasy of what they thought it was, but it turned out to be something else completely. And a lot of people haven't even realized that yet, but
Yeah, a lot are
that's
they?
the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you, I don't know if you know the origin of the word pharmaceutical.
Now go and tell us.
It comes from the Greek word pharmakia, which means sorcery and poisoning.
Wow.
So the lying poisoners are prescribing poison.
Wow.
It's right there in the words, and at some level, you know it.
Say, Dave, is not like, if you can look this up yourself, like, look this up yourself, find your own evidence, find your own, because he's just bringing an awareness for you to do your own research. Yeah.
If you want to look up pharmakia, look up a concordance of the Bible, and you'll find it. When you look up the word sorcery in the New Testament, you'll find it says pharmakia, and amongst the meanings is sorcery and poisoning. So yes.
Wow. Yeah. And so we've all put, our trust, and especially, perhaps the last couple of years or so, people have put their trust in obviously the government, but they put their trust in the medical model, haven't they? And, I think, I had emergency cesarean with my daughter, which was nearly 15 years ago. I feel like we need the medical model, but we need the medical model for things like that. And we need them for, helping with broken bones and stuff like that if someone has an accident. But I know that's controversial as well, but definitely the chronic conditions that people present with, and these ongoing ailments, and lots of different things that people get told are wrong with them, those are where you can really, really heal yourself. And I definitely believe that we are our own inner healer. And what you're saying points towards that we know all of this information, that we know it inherently. It's just we've been, I'm hearing blindsided, but just kind of like the blinkers have been there, and we've just not seen it. And now is the time for us to awaken to, my book has just come out this week called Awaken the Light Within. And I was just about to say that, but awaken that part of us that is our light, is our knowing, is our truth, so that we can listen to people like you, hear a different perspective on healing, so that we can like see those parts of us that already knew it. I think that's really
Well,
important.
unfortunately, 100 years ago, the practice of medicine was taken over by the Rockefeller and Carnegie
I know.
foundations.
Yeah.
So 100 years ago, there were all different types of medicines. So
Yeah.
you would go to a chiropractor if you had back problems. You go to a herbalist or a naturopath if you had something like an infection.
Yeah.
If you got knocked down by a bus, you'd go to an allopath. Now, an
Yeah.
allopath would only be concerned with dealing with the symptoms. That is, the broken bones, the bleeding, that sort of thing. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be concerned with the cause, because the
Yeah.
cause would be the bus.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
the Carnegies and Rockefellers did was they funded allopathic medicine, right, with millions and millions of dollars. They drove all the other types of medicine out to a lunatic fringe. They created medical schools that only taught allopathic medicine. They gave they owned the media, so they created TV shows and films that showed doctors using allopathic medicine. They literally brought this type of medicine to the forefront with money. It's not because it's any better, not because it's suitable. They just funded it into place. So treating symptoms only is crazy. It's like taking your car into the garage because the engine warning lights come on, and the mechanic takes the bulb out. Now the symptom, the flashing light, isn't going anymore. So you think everything's okay, but no, problems are getting worse and worse and worse.
And it's from a different source. So
exactly.
that's just what's coming out, which is the flashing light saying, "Hey, look at me." But actually, it's coming from the electric whole system in the car that needs looking at. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So that's how they've trapped us in this thing, because then the only cure, the only treatment, I should say, is to use these oil-based pharmaceuticals, which cause more symptoms and get you on that downward spiral of more and more illness. As I said, with the urine therapy and actually just following the 4 steps, essentially you cut out all that and you start spiraling back up again. As you descend into worse and worse health, more and more symptoms arise. And what the doctors do is they lump a group of symptoms together and call it a disease. That's it. There aren't any separate diseases. There's just the one. So yes, it's a complete change of mindset, and it's about trusting that your body knows exactly what it needs to do to heal, because that's its job.
I totally agree with you. We're coming to the end, actually, Dave, of this amazing conversation, which could go on for another 2 hours, to be honest. But I just want to tell people how they can get hold of you, and just to be aware that obviously, there's only one of Dave, and you can contact him, but you might have to wait a little while to for him to get back to you, but he will get back to you. So how can they get hold of you, Dave, if they need some help and support with whatever's going on for them in their world?
Okay, I've got a website, is www.allegedlydave.com. My email address is dmurphy25@gmail.com. And all my other contact details are actually on the website. And
we're going to put them.
You can find me as Allegedly Dave on Telegram, BitChute, Odyssey, and I think it's dmurphy25 on YouTube.
And you've got a YouTube channel. Yeah, I was going to say, and point people towards the YouTube channel because that's where I listened to Dave talking about urine therapy, and I thought, yeah, we've got to get him on. So,
I've
yeah, go on.
also got a book. I should
Oh,
always
yes,
forget
tell us about your book.
Well, yeah, I've also got a book called The Human Body Owner's Workshop Manual, which
The Human Body Owner's Workshop Manual.
Yeah, by allegedly K.A. Dave.
Okay, and where do they get that? Amazon?
Oh, you can get it on there, but it's also on lulu.com. But
okay,
yeah.
Amazing. Great. Well, Dave, thanks so much for being here on the Spiritual Awakener podcast. I'm sure you're going to get quite a few people contacting you. Thank you if you're listening live. It's great to have I'm going to read all your comments. Thank you so much for listening live. And if you're listening to this after, please know that you can contact me on susan@susankennard.co.uk or my website, susankennard.co.uk. And if you've got a spiritual awakening story that you want to share with my listeners, even if it's controversial, like Dave, then please contact me because I'd love to hear from you. Much love for now. And Dave, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome.